Hi guys, this is Deku Mask 1 here. For today's video, we're going to jump straight into the new Season 11 of Pokemon Go Battle League. So for these first battles, I'm using Lapras, Marowak, and Granbull as my team. So let's jump right in. Alright, so the first one, we got a Lapras that's up on Toxicroak. The opponent actually switches in an Electabuzz, so at this point I decided to go in with Marowak because Bone Club can actually be pretty useful at this point. Interestingly enough, the Electabuzz is actually just going for a Thunder Punch, which is okay, because I believe we actually outpace him to Bone Club versus Thunder Punch. At this point I decided to shield a Marowak, because it's more important to me to try to keep it alive and to maintain switch, just because I really do not want the Toxicroak on the Lapras if possible. I'd much rather have the Granbull on it. So at this point we toss another Bone Club. Let's see if they decide to shield this. And they do. Okay. So at this point what we're going to do is I believe we're going to go and just let it go. Okay. So now with this, let's see who I come in with. Alright, so I bring back Granbull, which is great. Nice thing here too is because it's a Shadow Granbull, it hits extremely hard. So on Pokemon where it may be close, like, oh god, that was just 3-hit the Dragonite. So with this poor Toxicroak, because it is both a fighting and poison type, it is resisted, but it still does a massive amount of damage. Like this resisted Crunch just did almost 50% of his HP. And that was the first battle. So with this next one, again we have Lapras on the lead into a Flygon. This is an amazing lead. Flygon's ground and dragon, so we actually are double super effective. For this next one, switching to Scrafty, great switch for the opponent, but Granbull just hard walls it as just a single fairy type. Even though it is Shadow, it's extremely glassy, but a power-up punch is still nothing to worry about. So with this, the next Pokemon the opponent brings in is Serperior. So notice here how much charm damage Granbull is doing without actually any charge moves at all. Thankfully for Granbull, it does have some of the faster charge moves that fairies get, like Close Combat and Crunch. So that's why I personally like it for this new season, because even as you can see, without them throwing a single move, if I choose to double shield, I could sweep the Serperior and go 2 Pokemon to their 1. So now I just bring in a lone Marowak. Nothing they can throw here is really threatening to me, so I pretty much just use it as a sponge for this point, just for energy, just because I do not want the Serperior up on the Lapras. Even though Lapras does do super effective damage with Ice Shard, it's better just to play it safe. So with this, it could have been, I think it would have just been a Dragon Claw, but I didn't want to have a surprise Earth Power. That would have been any fun. So at this point, the opponent top lefts, and now we jump into the next battle. So with this one was an interesting one. It's actually a Berserker. There's several different movesets they could run. This one's actually going, I think it's Shadow Claw. So what you're going to see here is I actually did a very risky move. Normally Berserkers run Foul Play and Close Combat. In this case, I was hoping they are going to charge up to 2 Close Combats. And they actually throw a different move at me when I was not expecting at all. The Berserker actually used a Play Rough, which is even better. That's, I think, the best move Alolan Marowak could be hit with, besides Close Combat. So with this Bone Club, very, very spammy. And it does a great job getting a shield from the enemy. And then down Berserker goes. So at this point, my team's in a very strong position. I still have 2 shields, and they have none. At this point, because they really can't, or there's no reason to shield bait, I just go straight for the Shadow Bone, which does an incredible amount of damage. If you guys can, I would highly recommend getting a Shadow Alolan Marowak. It will more than enough pay for itself with Stardust. The nice thing with this too is even on this Pokemon, as you guys can see, it's a normal type as well. So it is double resisted. It still does a pretty decent chunk of damage. Like, look at that. Not great, but that's also, for Chip, not bad at all. So at this point, I actually wasn't sure what this Pokemon had for Swallow, so I actually just was curious to see how much damage it would do. I didn't mean to two-shield flex on this trainer, but that's just how it happened. So going into the next battle, we actually have Lapras on Mew. I didn't realize it at this point, but it was actually running Dragon Tail on it. So what I end up doing is I end up charging up a bunch, go for the Skull Bash bait, because I can. With Mews, typically if I see one on the lead, I'm always going to assume it's running Wild Charge. This one was actually running Flash Cannon. So I throw my first Surf, and thankfully I got Shield, so that's great. And now I throw my second one for free, so I either get some extra chip damage, or they're giving up both shields. So at this point, they actually double shielded the Mew, which is great for me. So I switch in Granbull, who resists the Dragon Tails, and I actually got to take out the Mew before it gets to another charge move. So at this point, it's actually a Slurpuff, which actually does a lot of damage. I was pleasantly surprised. So what I'm hoping for with this Crunch, it's resisted, but I can get the defense drop, which I do believe I get here, yeah. So from the Slurpuff actually out-damaging me, I just flipped it. So if I didn't get that defense drop there, I would have lost it. So now with Victini, this is a great Pokemon for Alolan Marowak to see. I don't resist the Confusions. They actually resist my Fire Spins, but Shadow Bone is super effective against the Psychic type. And with that, it just takes him out. That was a good game to that trainer. So now for this next one, we're going up against Flizzamine. So this is a Lapras into a Trevenant. So this is a lead we are an okay spot with. It can flip depending on how many times you want to shield, if you want to use both. For me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Trevenant, so I always like to shield. I don't like letting my Lapras go down. So at this point, I'm just trying to farm up. I go to a Surf just to threaten them. It's resisted damage, but any extra chip damage at this point can threaten the Trevenant just because of how low it is. So thankfully, I actually do get a shield from him, and I'm able to sneak in an Ice Shard, which is great. So I do decide to double shield the Lapras. And then from this point, I do believe I just farm him straight down. Oh, he actually comes in with their own Walrein, which is cool. So if you guys haven't used Lapras before, one of the great things about it is it has a move called Skull Bash. So in these neutral mashups, it does a ton of damage, and it gives a defense boost, which is great. So for Walrein, because we double resist the Icicle Spears, it has to throw an Earthquake to get any meaningful damage off, as you'll see here. It still does a chunk, but not anything that is super threatening. So now with us throwing this Surf, it's going to do a nice bit of chip damage to Walrein. And now we come straight in with Alolan Marowak. So it just threw Earthquake, so it's completely energy dry, and we resist the ice damage from Powder Snow and Icicle Spears. And now there's Stunfisk. So at this point, we're actually in trouble. Bone Club is the best option here. It's the most spammy, but they still have a shield to protect their Galarian Stunfisk. So thankfully I do get to go to the second one. And then right here, yeah, they do shield. So what I'm afraid of at this point is the Galarian Stunfisk was able to farm up enough. It's pretty much, I believe, just going to be able to sweep my whole team. Yeah, so they go for the Earthquake. That kind of hurts a little bit. A Rock Slide most definitely would have taken me out at that HP, but that's okay. So now I bring in Granbull. It still chunks a ton. Sadly, it's not able to survive. I think the best thing I could have done was wait out the switch clock more, because if I could have switched into Lapras to absorb the earthquake, I probably could have taken it, but that's okay.